This is my shed presentation done by Sydney Basham from Joliet Central High School in the Engineering and Architecture 2 class. For this project, we were required to research Joliet area codes and then learn how to build the basic structure of a shed, constructed first in AutoCAD and then by using wood, glue, and pins to create the final assembly. So for the research portion, the first thing that we needed to do was learn some basic vocabulary that would be used when constructing a shed. In order to build a shed in the Joliet area, there are several things that you're going to need to acquire first. And these things include an accurate plat of survey with the placement of the proposed shed clearly marked, a complete building permit application, a complete residential accessory structure form, measurements, structural drawings, brochure or shed number, cost estimates, a copy of the contract, and a permit from the city of Joliet. The city also requires the shed to be no taller than 15 feet. It must remain at least 6 feet away from your home and 3 feet away from all property lines. It can also not be placed in your front yard. This picture on the right half of the screen here is a representation of a shed layout, which may also be submitted to the city in order to show accurate representation of existing and proposed structures on your property. Alright, so for the CAD drawings, some things that we needed to learn were the definitions of included trusses, which we learned are triangular shaped roof pieces which allow load bearing to be transferred to the supports. This red picture here is a picture of a truss, which we built, as well as this picture down here. This is also a truss. And then we also needed to know what the trimmer was, which is a larger piece of wood that's used to hold up a header. A trimmer transfers the load of the header down to the sole plate. So in this picture here, you can see this thicker piece is the trimmer. And then also in this picture and this picture here, those are both what we would call trimmers. Then for the modeling and construction portion of this project, we needed to first print our CAD modeled front, side, and rear walls, as well as our truss drawings. We then had to cut a piece of cardboard to fit the size of the paper, and then tape the drawing and parchment paper onto the cardboard. And so in these pictures here, you can kind of see like the cardboard in the back, or this one's I guess better. But you can see the cardboard back here, and then the paper, and you can kind of see the shininess of the wax paper in these pictures. And then we just tape that all together, making sure that it's very flat, so that all of our measurements are being done properly. We used the parchment paper so that once it was time to glue, it wouldn't stick so much, so that we couldn't get it off. We had to cut our wood to size and then begin assembling piece by piece. And in order to get the sizing of each wood, we were able to use these drawings, and essentially the size of this wood on the paper was the exact size that the physical piece of wood needed to be. So it was pretty easy. So then each piece needed to be cut exactly to size, or we would be wasting wood, and we would also be losing points for needing extra wood. We used pins in an X shape to hold the pieces together, and then repeated this process for 2 side walls, a front and rear wall, and a total of 6 trusses. So this was the first one that I did with my 2 side walls, and you can kind of see that X pattern as I had talked about. That X pattern that I had talked about in order to hold those things in place. And then my front wall, which was being constructed and then finally constructed, and then also my rear wall over here, and these triangular shapes again up top are the trusses. So finally it was time to assemble. We needed to get the base cardboard from Mr. West and then center our 4 walls onto the cardboard as best we could. However, I found that it was easier to assemble all 4 walls and then place that structure onto the cardboard base. And then once we got that those four walls onto the cardboard, we were able to start gluing our trusses, but we needed to glue the outside two first, so this one here and then this one, and then we needed to find the proper measurements in between those two for where we needed to place these other four trusses. So then once that was done, we were able to just, you kind of put a mark like on the top wood here so that you knew where your truss was going, and then you were able to just glue, let it dry, and then your assembly was done. My favorite part of this project was it being super hands-on and also being able to see something that I created from start to end, like really come to life. Starting with the CAD drawings and then going into that hands-on cutting the wood and assembling all those things. One change that I would definitely make was remembering to take pictures, taking videos. I wish I had taken more videos, and then also just being a little bit more precise when I was cutting my wood for those first few walls, and especially with the trusses. Advice that I would give for future students is, again, just being super precise, because the more miscuts you make, the more wood you have to get, the more points you're going to lose. So just being super precise from the very beginning, and being conscious, again, of taking those pictures and videos. And then I would just like to thank Mr. West for supplying all of the materials, answering questions, and being super helpful with this project, as always. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.